It is easy to wonder what all the fuss is about when it comes to Sega's Panzer Dragoon franchise. It's a cult hit that many can cast aside as "you had to be there" or "it was groundbreaking at the time." But what I was pleasantly surprised to see when we asked the OLL community to review the game live was the number of newcomers to the franchise who had piqued interest in the new remake. Perhaps proving that this on-rail shooter with laser dragons and strange flying death machines was actually worth rebooting. Go figure, Sega. It is important to note that many reviews of this game were recorded at the time of release, where here on Critical Hit we will be reviewing the latest version of the game as of late 2020. The first thing everyone says about the game is how beautiful it looks. This is due in part to the gorgeous opening level, where the opening cinematic creates the unique post-apocalyptic world. The first time you get to control the dragon and fly above the crystal clear waters and beneath the rotting pillars of an ancient destroyed civilization really creates something magical. The wow factor of Panzer Dragoon leaves an outstanding and lasting first impression, and it doesn't stop there, with deserts filled with deadly creatures, inside abandoned relics where the dragon actually lights up to illuminate the darkness, and above beautifully wide open forest landscapes with power-hungry empires gunning down on you with ancient technology they don't truly understand. Nothing quite looks, feels and sounds like Panzer Dragoon, with the soundtrack still holding up today, with its distinct use of instruments and epic rolling score. And these aspects of the game are also customizable, with the choice to switch on performance mode for those that prefer the silky smoothness of 60 frames per second, or dropping to a lesser frame rate to improve all the textures in the game, to make it look a little bit more detailed. You can enjoy this even more with photo mode, pausing the game to fly around the dragon, taking pictures with filters and from several angles. And even the music can be switched to a new arrangement where the composer of Panzer Dragoon Auto, the last game in the franchise, tries her hand at remixing the original soundtrack. In fact, several of the game's control schemes and settings can be tweaked to make it more like the original for people who would like that, or perhaps more like nowadays shooters with twin stick flying and shooting mechanics to better match modern first-person shooter games. Controls are very simple, with two fire methods: a fast firing but manual aiming handgun, or a slower lock-on laser from the dragon that will strike multiple targets. Enemies can approach from all sides, and you are able to face any compass point with a quick tap of the button. Keep an eye on the radar to warn you of upcoming targets and where they might be approaching from. Bosses will require a mixture of the two firing options and the memorization of patterns to overcome as you try to navigate the dragon around level hazards to minimise damage, and all of this feels like you are moving a dragon, not just a dragon-shaped fighting ship, with delayed commands adding to the feeling of a living creature. It's simple but addictive, and as you try the harder skill levels, the game becomes less forgiving and asks you to be faster on the draw and quicker to react. And it is a good thing there are reasons to replay, because being a direct remaster of the original game, there is no new gameplay or level additions here. Panzer Dragoon is a short game. And after a few playthroughs and memorising where the enemies spawn from, you will need these extra features to flesh out your flight time, which will always be a point in contention of this game. It was even back in 1996. As good as the game looks and as fun as it is to play, there are a few things that do niggle. The bosses, although impressive, have long animations in between phases. That if you whittle down their life gauge fast enough, you have to wait until they complete these long animations before you can deal more damage. It is also a little jarring that some of the customizable features, such as the graphics, the soundtrack, control tweaks and modes, all need a restart of the game to take effect, which I can't help but think that should all really be interchangeable mid-game from the pause menu in real time, so you might need to restart a few times to find your preferred playstyle and get comfortable. But my personal biggest complaint with the game is the lack of a high scoreboard. The game does track game stats like flight distance, shots fired and number of times played, but never saves your highest scores for each level, which is a bit strange to this remake, even if it wasn't in the original game. So there is no real sign of tracking progression or drive to get a perfect score each skill level. I feel this would have added a great deal more desire for multiple playthroughs. But the dev team have made some excellent improvements after the original launch on Switch. Loading times, although still a little long, are shorter, aiming feels smoother, turning viewpoints is faster, and the dragon's movements are less erratic, obscuring less of the screen. Meaning many of the complaints people had before are now gone. Old fans of the game now have a closer experience to the original, and newcomers will better understand why Panzer Dragoon is held in such high regard. So should you buy it? Well, any nostalgic fan of the game will say yes, although the game is very short once you get the hang of it, but it is often on sale these days and it wasn't very expensive to begin with. So perhaps it's best to put it this way. If you played Star Fox 64 and was the kind of person to get to the end and pick it back up again for another go, then yes, give Panzer Dragoon a chance. It may not have as many levels and routes to take as the classic N64 game, but it is aimed at a more adult player and will have you back again and again to saddle up on your very own dragon and experience the hypnotic sights and sounds of one of gaming's most unique fictional worlds. Kizra emphatically says hit, hit, hit. It's a beautiful remaster, looks and sounds great, and has been improved a lot by patches since launch. It's a short game, but fun and well worth replaying to improve your scores and challenge other difficulties. Cake for All says, an unpopular opinion, but I thought Panzer Dragoon was a miss. I got the impression nostalgia played a big factor for people who enjoyed this game. Fanata says, yeah, alright Bill, it's a heckin' hit. The game is an 8 out of 8. Although I prefer the satin graphics, the remake does a fine job of capturing the original's vibe. Vagrus says, loving the bright colour palette, £10 for a short game is fine with me, and I'm pretty busy these days. Every time I saw these bosses it was like seeing a giant tooth. But that also gives me a scary thought. What if we fought the actual beast it came from? Mr. Puff says it's a hit from her. I love Panzer and the remake is pretty beautiful. It's such a smooth game, I love it, it's so pretty.
Dragan says, a faithful remastering of the original cult classic, a gorgeous looking on-rail shooter that is rarely seen in the current gaming landscape. It's an excellent love letter to the games of the past and a superb example of a refresh of a game that when I first played it made me marvel at what 3D gaming could be. It's a pulse pounding, ball busting, motherfucking hit baby, yeah, woo!
And Lisa says, hit from me, couldn't say anything else after hearing your fanboying of the series over the years. So, adding up all the hits and the misses from the OLL gaming community, 90% would recommend you play Panzer Dragoon Remake. Thank you for all of those who left your comments on this week's game, and if you would like to be a part of the next gaming review here on Critical Hit, simply join the OLL Games Discord, Facebook, YouTube or Twitch channel and watch out for our future review posts. We would love to hear from you. This was Bill on behalf of OLL Games, and I will see you next time on Critical Hit. Laters!